9 days ago, I announced we had Oregon's first case of COVID-19 coronavirus. Late yesterday evening, we learned of 7 new cases in Oregon, bringing the total number of cases in our state to 14. First, my thoughts and prayers are with these Oregonians and their families. I understand that this news is very concerning. As your governor, I want to reiterate how seriously we are taking this situation. I have consulted with the Oregon Health Authority, and I am declaring a state of emergency to ensure that we are able to swiftly deploy the personnel and resources necessary to address coronavirus in Oregon.
This is truly an unprecedented situation.
This virus doesn't discriminate. It attacks everyone.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead.
The coronavirus has changed life as we know it across America. But how did we go from 0 cases to having more than any other country?
When the pandemic hit, everything shut down, including my salon, losing a second income for 3 months. We had to prioritize what expenses to cut and what we could live without. Luckily, we had switched to a ketogenic diet a year prior, and we were buying grass-fed finished meats, dairy, grain-free, free-range chicken and pork. But do you have to eat this way on a ketogenic diet? And what exactly is organic anyway? Let's let the doctor explain.
How important is organic when you're doing keto? So, first of all, what is organic? Well, it means that you're not using synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, antibiotics, certain food additives. You're not irradiating your food. You're not using sewage sludge, and I'm not kidding, they use sewage sludge in certain animal feeds. And if you're doing organic, you're not using genetically modified seeds. Now, you also have livestock that's organic. That means you're using feeds that are not using pesticides, certain fertilizers, certain antibiotics, etc., etc. And there's different levels of organic. Organic keto foods, right, from the grocery store, and that's becoming more and more popular. But there's also the factor of where are they growing these ingredients. Let's say they're growing this food, this organic food, on empty soils, and so there's very low nutrients in the plant. There's a huge difference between buying organic food at the grocery store versus growing it yourself. And that's why I put this scale here. We have different levels of health. And I just wanted to kind of graph this so you can see the different levels, because we also have the wild caught fish, the grass-fed beef, which is different than organic. And realize there's huge benefits in just doing keto, but there's additional benefits if you can take it up a notch and add the organic in there, the wild caught foods, the grass-fed, and even going to the farmer's market or growing food in your own garden. Thanks for watching.
To eat this way is costly, and we no longer had a food budget of $600 a month. We decided to go on a 5-day fast and incorporate intermittent fasting. For 3 months, we ate 1 meal a day with no snacking. We took in anywhere from 600 calories to 1,200 a meal. Didn't expect the grocery stores to close or partially open some of the areas due to limited supply. Due to the food constraints, we were forced to source our food somewhere else. We had to set aside our values to survive. For the first time in a decade, we were forced with food insecurity feelings that we've never had before, but we were not alone. It took these extremes to realize how much we rely on the food system to feed us. One part of the chain was affected, it quickly trickled down to the consumer. Farm workers and food processing plants played Russian roulette, risking exposure to the virus. Their choice was either guard their well-being, that of their family by not going to work, or losing a paycheck, or showing up to work and being more exposed to the disease. FOMO is real. Fear of missing out was a real thing, and people were competitive. They were very limited on things in the store you can get and limited to the amount of items you could get. It was fierce. So we decided to start our own garden. Let's go ahead and just grow what we can, but where do you get started? How do you go about it? This is real when you don't know anything and you're starting from scratch. It came down to we were desperate not to alter our diets any further, and danger of produce being eliminated was becoming a reality. So we did what many others did and grew our own produce. Luckily, we had a credit card that would pay for it all. Now, our neighbors weren't always as fortunate. We were able to meet up with other local gardeners as well and share in experiences. This made all the difference in being successful. Sarah Silverton, Executive Director of George Grown Food Network, said, "It is essential to strengthen hyperlocal food systems to support smaller communities, especially when national systems break down in a crisis." She also stated, "The pandemic would give us an opportunity to get used to eating foods from our own communities." A year and a half later, we live with COVID-19 and its variants disrupting our food supply chain. In the article Spoiled Milk, Rotten Vegetables, and a Very Broken Food System, editor Jennifer Clapp said, "Economists, politicians, and corporations have pushed for increasingly interconnected food supply chains over the last 50 years. The coronavirus, however, has revealed severe weakness with relying too much on this approach." A year later, we still grow our own food and actually got an indoor hydroponic system to continue to grow lettuces and things that you only get in the summertime. But there's a lot of articles out there of like, hey, just replant those seeds. So here's an expert that told us the truth behind the seeds.
When you plant a seed and have a seedling apple or a seedling apricot, you are having a offspring that is produced that could express a huge range of genetic diversity, and you won't know the quality of the fruit until that tree matures and actually bears fruit. The truth is that apples grown from seed are usually not particularly tasty. They actually can be incredibly unpalatable. And that is the reason why we have these scions that have been developed, these grafted varieties, because you have a consistent fruit where you know what you're going to get, and you'll get it very shortly after grafting. Versus if you plant a seed, you have to wait years until it flowers and can bear fruit, and then the quality of the fruit is unknown. That's the beauty of genetic diversity. You may get something that is a superior fruit in every way, which obviously if you are a plant breeder or interested in plant breeding, that's a whole other topic. But for someone that's just randomly planting seeds, you don't know the quality that you're going to get. So you may go along and toss your seed out while you're on a hike, and it may produce a peach tree that is just disgusting and or very disease prone. You may produce a peach tree that is great, but odds are you're going to produce something that is not particularly palatable and therefore is not going to serve the needs of the people you were hoping to meet.
So as you can see, there's a lot to know and a lot to do to make a difference, and we all have the choice to make a difference. So I end this with a quote. "If the people who keep food supply chains moving are made vulnerable by feeling unsafe in working conditions, low wages, and closed borders, then the entire food system is vulnerable." By Jennifer Clapp. You and I can make a difference. We share, we do, we live the way we live for others.